Welcome back, my friends. Currently, we're on day 268 of Russia's disastrous invasion of Ukraine, and this past week was a little bit tense for everyone, and unfortunately, it's looking more likely that it was actually a Ukrainian surface-to-air missile to blame for the deadly incident in Poland earlier this week. Now, this is the important part to emphasize. Yes, evidence is growing that an errant Ukrainian missile killed two Polish citizens, but NATO says Russia is still ultimately responsible. Russia is the one choosing to launch long-range cruise missiles against civilian targets on the Ukrainian-Polish border. Russia is still responsible. Here is the statement put out by General Mark Milley and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, contradicting Zelensky's statement that he made earlier this week. What happened is President Zelensky went and talked to his soldiers and got a guarantee for them that it wasn't their air defense systems that went rogue and landed in Polish territory. Unfortunately for Zelensky, the Ukrainians did not immediately have access to the debris. They couldn't go into Poland to investigate for themselves. It was Polish and NATO forces that examined the missile debris and are, I think, confirming that it was an air defense system from the Ukrainians that landed on this Polish farm. Lloyd Austin said that the accident yesterday was most likely a result of a Ukrainian air defense missile. So Russia was actually potentially maybe telling the truth. And this is the problem that Russia has. The fact that they lie so much, they lie about absolutely everything. When they actually tell the truth, can you really believe them? You have to always doubt, you have to always practice skepticism. But logically, for me, this makes sense. I don't think the Russians at this time would deliberately attack a NATO country because they're already losing a war to Ukraine. How are they going to fight a war against Ukraine plus all of NATO at the same time? I just want to show you the headline from this Warzone article. 5 NATO aircraft carriers are currently operating in European waters. NATO says that 5 carrier deployments are all separate but highlight the alliance's capacity to conduct major coordinated naval operations. If Russia chooses to attack a NATO country, and I don't think if they were going to do this, they would bomb a Polish farmer. I think they would go after some kind of logistical hub where weapons and materials are crossing the Polish-Ukrainian border. But NATO has had 9 months to plan and prepare for this. This would equal Russia's annihilation if they chose to do this. Another interesting theory, I received lots of comments and messages talking about this, is that this might have been a Russian accident from mixing up the GPS coordinates for Lviv and Kyiv. Basically, if you take the latitude of Kyiv and the longitude of Lviv, more or less you get the coordinates of where this missile landed on this Polish farm. And I'm interested in this theory. Russian forces are incompetent. They are poorly trained. It's entirely possible that some Russian operator inputted the wrong GPS coordinates. But once again, this kind of absolves Russia of responsibility for a deliberate aggressive attack on a NATO country. If it was an accident, do you really want to potentially trigger a nuclear war over a misunderstanding or an error or an accident? Ultimately, Russia is already one of the most sanctioned countries in the world, and in order to get those sanctions lifted after Putin is removed from power and there's a replacement government, maybe that new Russian government will have to formally apologize to the Polish government and offer some kind of reparations or restitutions to the Polish family members who lost their loved ones. It's just another sad story in this 9-month conflict. The other incident, the other front we should talk about is, once again, the Ukrainians liberated the north bank of the Dnipro River, the city of Kherson, And in my mind, I thought Russia might still want to contest the city, but it's looking more and more likely that Russian forces altogether are withdrawing from this entire region. When you zoom in down here, what are all these blotches? This is actually marshland, desert, and wasteland. There aren't a lot of Ukrainian settlements in this region. So my theory is that they were going to wait for the Ukrainian forces to come into the city of Kherson, then do their best to destroy as many of the buildings as possible. But this is actually showing a serious sign of weakness from the Russians because they don't have the artillery shells. They don't have the artillery rounds to destroy the city like they did to Mariupol. So rather than contest this region, yes, they might be leaving behind some ground forces and garrisons, but as far as heavy equipment, any serious operations, Russia's not even pretending. They're not even trying. So more than likely, most of these forces are being redeployed to the Zaporizhia front to reinforce over here and prevent a future counteroffensive by the Ukrainians as they want to push towards the city of Melitopol. Let me quick show you some pictures of President Zelensky. He visited the liberated city of Kherson 2 days after. Once again, everything this guy does is incredibly inspiring to me, and I'm not even Ukrainian. Here's a cute interaction of him, children in a window waving to him, and him waving back. So for a comparison and leadership, here is a picture of President Zelensky visiting Kherson, and here is a picture of President Putin visiting Kherson. Oh wait, President Putin never leaves his bunkers, let alone go to an active war zone to express support for his own soldiers fighting and dying on the front lines. Putin is never going to do that. So where is the next hotspot? And the one issue from this region that hasn't been resolved is what's going to come of the Novokakhovka hydroelectric power plants. The Dnipro River crossing here is going to be very difficult. Russia gambled big by detonating 3 spans of this dam. Luckily, this dam is pretty tough and they didn't break the dam, but it does appear that there's still Russian forces garrisoning, trying to hold the other side of this dam. When we scroll down, I just want to show you this real quick. The armed forces of Ukraine have slapped a blanket ban on news reports from the region, citing a need to protect the security of ongoing operations. But according to Russian supporting news sources, Novokakhovka is the new epicenter of the front and that the shelling is constant. So when we go back to the war map, you can see there's still a bunch of Russian forces over here that recently retreated. Do they have the means, the supplies, the artillery rounds to fire back? Or are they just going to stay on this side of the dam and get pummeled for the next couple weeks, the next couple months? I think it's looking more and more likely that the Russians at some point will give up on this dam. They want to hold the fresh water supply feeding Crimea. But are they going to blow the dam if they have to retreat from this side of the energy plants? And there's crazy videos coming out of what the Russians have been doing as far as fortifying positions far from the front lines. So this video allegedly shows fortifications being built in Henichska. This is north of Crimea. And Crimea's temporary governor has confirmed the construction of these trenches to protect the peninsula. Let me show you about 30 seconds of what these fortifications look like. So where is this exactly on the map? And here is the Crimean Peninsula. Here is the Kherson region we were just talking about. And there's really only three ways to get from the mainland to the peninsula. And Russia is already choosing to mine and fortify these regions. You would only do that if you were planning on losing a lot more territory. So to protect Crimea, they're building trenches, probably here and here and here. And you would only do that if you think there's a possibility that your forces are going to get routed and you're going to lose all of this territory up here. I just think it's stunning how easily Russia is already planning for their defeats. In addition, on the northern border of Ukraine, so here is Kyiv, and then this is northeast, Moscow is about 500 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. And Russia is already mining the border between Russia and Ukraine. I guess fearing that the Ukrainians at some point might get ambitious and go on the offensive and try and drive tanks towards Moscow. But their own Russian citizens, their own farmers, are tripping and exploding and dying on these mines that Russia is putting down. Once again, why would Russia do this unless they were planning on losing a lot more territory? Next story we should touch up on is the U.S. House elections. The Republicans officially gained control of the House of Representatives, so they'll be in the majority, and if Kevin McCarthy becomes Speaker of the House, if he wants to, he can block all future votes on additional aid packages from the United States to Ukraine. The leader of the opposition to helping Ukraine is Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of the state of Georgia. The stuff that she puts out is pretty horrible. She's not a very good person. In addition, there's tweets like this from Donald Trump Jr. Since it was Ukraine's missile that hit our NATO ally Poland, can we at least stop spending billions to arm them? Now, there's speculation. I believe Marjorie Taylor Greene is supporting Kevin McCarthy becoming Speaker of the House, and I don't think she would do that unless there were certain guarantees that there won't be any additional military aid or economic aid for Ukraine. So what's going to happen in the next 5 weeks, we call this the lame duck session of Congress. The Democrats are still in control of both chambers. They can still pass legislation. So what's already being planned is an additional $37 billion aid package for Ukraine. This will more than likely get passed the week between Christmas and New Year's. Congress changes over on January 3rd. So I think as far as additional aid packages and funding, Ukraine is good for all of the year 2023. But if for some reason this war is still going on by January 2024, that is when I think the funding and the aid for Ukraine from the United States will run out. Thankfully, I think this war will be long over by then. I think Russia is really going to start struggling when we get to February, March, April, and their brilliant plan to freeze Europe over the winter completely falls flat on its face. Additionally, once we get to May, and they're at another May 9th Victory Day celebration, and they literally have no army to walk down Red Square to celebrate their victory in World War II, things are going to get weird. My speculation, my prediction, you can write this down. I think the government in Moscow is going to politically and economically collapse 6 months from now. Around the May-June time period, I think that's the point where Russia won't even be able to pretend anymore like they can carry on this war. Here's an article from The Economist. Russia needs a respite. They need a break. They need to gather themselves. So the West must help Ukraine to continue fighting. Here's the meme with The Simpsons. Russia doesn't want peace. All of these talks of peace talks and negotiations from Russia, it's all a lie. All that Russia wants is more time to build up their forces so they can continue attacking Ukraine. As long as Vladimir Putin remains in power in Moscow, this war will never end. He will never stop. Russia will never leave Ukraine alone until there is regime change in Moscow. So, because Russia's ground forces are performing so terribly, Russia believes that their last best hope to win or stall out this war is to terrorize the civilian population of Ukraine by going after their energy infrastructure. They want to deprive tens of millions of Ukrainians of light, heat, and water this winter to somehow get them to negotiate where Russia can end this war on favorable terms to them. So, the number one thing that NATO allies have to provide to the Ukrainians at this time are surface to air missiles, air defense systems. There have been 16 NASAM launchers provided by the United States, 6 Stormers from the UK, 4 from Italy, 3 from Germany, an additional 4 Hawk from the United States, plus all of these older Soviet era launchers that have also been provided. And these air defense systems are mitigating the damages, they are helping. This is from the Minister of Defense of Ukraine. 73 out of more than 90 cruise missiles have been shot down, as well as 10 enemy kamikaze drones. Unfortunately, some of them are still getting through. Russia is literally wasting their remaining stockpile on this long shot gamble to get the Ukrainians to somehow negotiate or capitulate. So almost 50% of Ukraine's energy system is out of order. I've seen reports that tens of millions of Ukrainian civilians right now are in blackout conditions. Let me share a couple of these clips with you. This is the Odessa Symphony Orchestra practicing. They're doing rehearsals, and because they don't have power, they have to do it in the dark. The Ukrainians continue to persevere. And here is a video of the exact moments when power was restored to Odessa. They actually went 48 hours without electricity. And here are the people celebrating out their windows to having the power turned back on, at least temporarily. Russia is pure evil. And here's the updated meme from when the Nazis were bombing London in the 1940s. It applies equally today with Russia's terror campaign against Ukrainian civilians. Keep calm and carry on. This is going to be a brutal winter for the Ukrainian civilian population, but if they can make it until next spring, I'm pretty confident at that point Russia will collapse. Here's another picture I just wanted to share with you of the train station in Kherson reopening. They're going to start allowing for passenger cars to start bringing people in and out, trying to do their best to return city life to some level of normalcy. This is absolutely incredible. This is a new trend in Ukrainian fashion. In Kherson, children are asking their liberators to sign their outerwear, sweaters, and jackets. These are unique pieces of history that someday might be valued national treasures, but that's pretty incredible to see. Next clip that went viral is a man in the city of Kherson explaining that yes, they don't have electricity, water, or heating, but it's all worth it.
That we are finally liberated, that we are free, because now we have no electricity in the city, no water, no central supply heating, no mobile connection, no internet connection, but we have no Russians. And I'm extremely happy of that. We can survive anything, but we are free.
Very well said. Final clip I want to share with you is of a Ukrainian musician playing his instruments in the ruins of a building destroyed by the Russians. that's all for this update video. Glory to the heroes, glory to Ukraine. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support my channel. Comments or questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, take care, be safe.